welcome to the inaugural interview review. So Jonathan just saw Spider-Man.
Review?
Yeah, the inaugural interview review.
Are we going to call it the inter review?
I don't know. We could. I like it.
We'll workshop that.
Yes. Comment below if you think we should call it the inter review. How's that? Do we do the subscribe and like thing now, or do we just ignore that and move on?
just roll with it, man. Just roll with it.
Just roll with it. So Jonathan just got out of seeing Spider-Man No Way Home. And in a few words, he's going to explain his reaction here.
So we talked about this a bit before we jumped on here, and I think my reaction will probably give you a good description of how my face looked during the movie. And it was a lot like this. As I watched Spider-Man No Way Home, I was more like, Spider-Man? No way, homie. What I'm doing.
So what you're saying is that it was really good.
Yeah, all joking aside, I mean, it had me on the edge of my seat at times. You know, there were some sad moments, some laughs, some action. Like probably one of the best Spider-Man movies I've seen. And you know, leading up to this, as I told you separately outside of this, I marathoned last week every single Spider-Man movie from the early Tobey Maguire days to Andrew Garfield to the current batch, because I really wanted to feed my Spider-Man vibes, because I was trying to catch up on, you know, as for the trailers, there's some villains that may be familiar faces, so I kind of want to get a refresher, like what was their deal? So that said, really cool. Did not let me down. There's a lot of really cool stuff going on. Obviously, it was a longer film as per Marvel standards, but it didn't feel like it was too long, and it didn't feel like they're cramming too much into like a smaller time element. It felt just right, and yeah, it flowed fantastic.
So the people that are watching this, Jonathan is also a massive Spider-Man fan. He has comics framed on his wall. And so how does this, from a comic book geek perspective, how does this stack up?
Yeah, I mean, in the Spider-Man geek realm, I mean, I wouldn't be a 10 out of 10. I'd probably be, you know, somewhere in maybe the 6 to 7 out of 10 Spider-Man geekiness realm. But, you know, I've always been a fan since I was a kid. Like Shane said, I have some framed comics on my wall of the symbiote saga, and the Iron Spider suit, as we see here, right above us. The first appearance during, you know, the oh my god, the name escapes me, during the Civil War series, the first go at it. So yeah, I'm a pretty big fan. But yeah, I mean, you know, whenever you watch all the movies, like I remember when the Tobey Maguire series first came out, you know, I was pretty excited to see Spider-Man in a movie form, and you know, back then it was probably one of the only superhero movies that really was out of that nature. And you know, they were interesting, but they were kind of a little hokey at times, and maybe in hindsight could have been done a little better. But I think as we've kind of progressed, these new Tom Holland movies have been fantastic, and this one, being the third of the series now, has been fantastic. The best of the three, easily the best out of all the Spider-Man movies. Honestly, it was just really well done. You know, from animation to acting to storytelling, it was pretty impactful.
Okay, so we don't want to do a spoiler inter review here, or review. So we're not going to get into it.
We can save that for a different day, right?
Yeah. But what we want to talk about really quickly is, for anybody who's seen the trailers, you're going to want to stick around, because we know some villains return from the previous sagas. Awesome? Not awesome?
Yeah, I mean, the villains were in the trailers. So, you know, I don't think we have to tippy toe about that one. People probably here have vigorously rewatched those trailers, so I feel like it's not spoilery, but yeah, I mean, like you kind of mentioned early on, there's some villains that came from some previous Spider-Man movies. again, from the Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire series. So it was really cool to see how they tried to integrate that with the whole, cross universe melding. You can see they're using that theme across pretty much any Marvel movie these days, where there's alternate realities and universes, and the timelines are all over the place. And obviously, from Enter the Spider-Verse, the Miles Morales animated movie a couple of years ago, like they're really doubling down on the whole multiverse aspect. So it was really cool to see how they could integrate those movies by using some of the villains and bringing some of the stories there in, and see how our modern day Tom Holland Spider-Man is going to deal with some of these villains that previous Peter Parkers have already dealt with. So is he going to do things differently? That was kind of the curiosity when I was watching too. Like, how's this guy going to handle it? And it's not just one or two foes. Like there's a small army contingent of evil Spider-Man villains to handle. So that was pretty cool.
That's all. I'm so jealous, honestly, right now that you got to see this tonight. And I know I tried to get down to T-Dot to see it with you, but unfortunately I wasn't able to make it. So I can't wait for this weekend to see this movie for myself. I'm a fan of Tom Holland. I think he really captures the essence of Peter Parker, the less jokey Peter Parker. He doesn't tell as many jokes as some of the Spider-Mans. I think Andrew Garfield was the more comedic Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I feel.
I was gonna say, for those who've probably seen the older, different actor Spider-Man movies, it's kind of interesting. It's almost comparable to how you have your different James Bond actors, and how are they each going to portray their version of James Bond. Well, it's kind of interesting to see how each actor sort of spun their own Spider-Man web, so to speak. You see, I tried to make a pretty bad joke there, but he's doing a little more of a serious, kind of wittier, like innocent vibe to his role. And the interesting part of this movie, it did have some moments where it's getting a little more serious. I thought the first two Tom Holland films were pretty lighthearted, pretty family friendly, but there's some themes that come up in this movie that are a little more serious and kind of just kind of darker theme, adult themes, just life problems he's got to go with. And it almost, goes to show how this is his third film in, Spider-Man's been growing as a character, and, Tom Holland's, experiencing life and learning, and he went through the death of Tony Stark in the Avengers, and now, he's becoming an adult, kind of living through all these problems. So his character is growing through these movies, right? It's not just the same guy, different villains. So it's interesting to see how this is kind of a culmination of some of those growing pains of him kind of making it through as a young superhero.
So we have 4 more days for those of us that don't get to see this, unless you've got Thursday tickets, because there are some Thursday tickets out there. Really, what do you want to say to the people that are sitting on the edge of their seat right now, just waiting to find out how good this movie is going to be?
I was excited. Yeah, for sure. You go into any movie, you see trailers, you're excited. I kind of assess a film based on, are the trailer footage and kind of clips that they show me the best parts of the movie, or is there much more to it? And I can safely say that this movie was chock full of, interesting, just interesting scenes. There's so much more. Like, the trailers scratch maybe a tenth of the surface of what this film had to offer. There's a lot of Easter eggs in there. That's all I'll say without being spoilers. Spoiler, hashtag spoiler free. There's a lot of Easter eggs. So when you do watch it, you're, for those of you who are well versed in the Marvel verse are probably gonna see stuff and be like, oh my God, is that, whatever. So it's exciting. It really goes to show, how these movies can grow and still be interesting and kind of keep pushing the envelope. And it gets me excited for like what comes next. And I think we talked about privately how there's going to be 3 more Spider-Man movies coming up after this. So, the window of opportunities is wide open here. And honestly, it was such a good movie. It only gets me excited for what 3 films they can do, right? 'Cause they packed a lot of villains. I don't know if superhero movies, you kind of like look at a movie and think like what villains they're going to pack in, but when you pack it in, what is it, 5 villains that have been in the trailers? How can you outdo yourself? So it's curious to see, like what's going to come. I don't know. Shane, what do you think? Like, I mean, you only watch the trailers. What are you excited for? Like, what are you hoping to see out of the movie?
I don't know if I want to get into it, because there is some talk online, especially in the Twitterverse and in social media, about some other characters that we haven't referenced and showing up in the movie. But we did talk before this as well. At the end of Venom, Let There Be Carnage, there's a clip where the spell that Doctor Strange casts in this movie affects them. And
yeah,
and
are we allowed to talk about the Carnage clip? Has it been long enough?
Well, it's out on Blu-ray tomorrow and 4K, and it's been out on digital for a couple of weeks, so I think it's okay. I don't think we're spoiling it. Maybe we'll put up a little thing that there's a spoiler at this minute mark for that movie.
Leave it vague. At the end of the Venom and Carnage movie, there's an after credits clip that has some impact potentially on another franchise we may or may not be speaking of today. So it's kind of begs the question: how is that going to integrate into Spider-Man? Since we all know some of those characters originate from Spider-Man comics.
That's right. So this is it. Marvel notorious for after credit scenes. What should people wait for? 1 or 2? How many are they waiting for? Don't spoil them.
Can we talk about the quantity? We can talk about how many, right? Yeah. So there's one mid. I think they refer to as a mid credit. Yeah. Which is directly related to the movie, and then there is a final clip which is more of a, I don't know if it was clip part of the movie, but it was a trailer for another big movie coming out. So
that sounds really strange, my man.
I'm excited. Something strange about it. I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was though, but anyway.
Anyway, so thanks for seeing the movie for us. Thanks for taking the time tonight after for sitting down and doing this inaugural review interview.
I was gonna say, I guess people will probably want to know, like, is it what's the rating on here, like what do I rate it, right? So I mean, honestly, as a Spider-Man fan, I would say this was a pretty good 10 out of 10.
Whoa.
I was very satisfied.
I did not expect you to give it a 10. I was expecting maybe an 8 or a 9, but a 10 out of 10.
No, it was really well done. It was honestly, and I was pumped watching it. It was the second half of the film especially it gets fun.
Oh man, I cannot wait for this weekend.
We'll follow up in a couple of weeks and actually maybe do a breakdown of the film.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to get into the spoilery stuff too soon. We want to give a couple of weeks for a lot of people to see it.
Sure, yeah.
So maybe we'll check back in after Christmas, and we'll do the follow up then between Christmas and New Year. We'll schedule the date.
Depends when you guys are watching this video. Watch it this weekend if you're seeing this before it premieres. And obviously, great film. You got to check it out.